So anyway, where were we? Yes, we were talking about Anna and how stupid she is. Let's get back to that. So... she learns that Hans is an asshole, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess I gotta kiss Kristoff instead. And then she performs the act of true love and saves her sister. It is an interesting twist. And then she starts dating Kristoff. So I guess her character arc, because like I said, she loved her sister before, and she loved her sister at the end. So nothing really changed there. Nope, nothing really changed. Still pretty much her chief concern is finding a man, being with a man. Just at the end, I think, it's not even really spelled out, she decides to date Kristoff instead of marry him straight away. And she learned the valuable lesson that maybe you hang out with someone a bit to find out their true character. But she, other than that, which is sort of like a lesson in common sense and something that you might teach in a 2-minute video, she doesn't grow, she doesn't change, and she's not very interesting. Funny, entertaining, yes, I enjoyed her, but she's not very complex and she doesn't change. That's my point. Okay, Elsa. Elsa. Really, you gotta blame her parents for this one, and those goddamn rock trolls. I mean, her parents essentially do everything wrong. They take this gift she has and tell her to hide it away instead of learning to actually use it and control it and use it for good. They decide that control equals don't use it at all. It kind of actually reminded me of my experience growing up and being trans, because it's so much worse and damaging, psychologically damaging, every kind of damaging if your parents are like, ooh, no, we're just gonna kind of crush that and not talk about it, versus if you're allowed to actually express yourself and be who you are. It is a beautiful thing, which is what I think Frozen, the movie, was trying to say. But that doesn't change the fact that her parents were idiots. So, but then again, I think it's kind of realistic, because most parents freak out, and if their kid is shot in the head by their other kid with an ice blast, most parents would freak out. They shouldn't have, because they should have understood that trying to suppress it only made things worse, but they didn't, and I think a lot of parents wouldn't. But then let's talk about the stupid rock trolls. So they take Anna and Elsa to the rock trolls, fix Anna's head, which I guess the head, you can fix in 2 seconds, but the heart is no. I mean, in my experience, you can't really live without a heart or a brain. But that's just me. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. So the rock trolls tell Elsa / her parents and show these visions. They're like, your power could be really beautiful and awesome, but be careful of fear, and show this red image. Okay, dude, how old are you? I mean, you're a rock. You must be at least thousands of years old. Your job is to be wise and be a healer and give advice, right? I think that's what you do. I mean, the rock trolls are just kind of stupid, if we're honest. And mess everything up, potentially putting in place the entire movie. So what kind of stupid-ass rock troll tells someone that fear is their enemy as they're scaring that child? Who says fear will be your enemy in this scary voice and shows a scary red image and some kind of, I don't know, demons attacking, or I don't remember that image exactly, but it was scary, and Elsa clearly got scared by it, and the parents clearly got scared by it. So what is he saying? He's saying fear is your enemy, and at the end she learns that the answer is love. Oh, that's original. That's very progressive. Oh, love? Oh, I would never have thought of that. Okay. Just blew my mind. So fear is the enemy, right? He fucking scares them, and then they base every action after that on fear. They're afraid she's gonna hurt Anna. They're afraid she's not gonna be able to control her powers. So they brainwash Anna, which the troll does too. The troll does not say, look, guys, I know this is scary. I know you've never had a kid with ice powers before, but you actually have to nurture it. And fear is your enemy, so you have to embrace it and not be scared. So he's like, fear is the enemy, so let me wipe all of her memories of this. And that's a really stupid thing to do, because that action was also based on fear, and then hiding the entire thing from Anna is also fear-based, so why did he wipe her memories at all? His action and his motivation actually don't make sense. But the parents, right, so after that great advice that fear is their enemy, they base all of their actions on fear, and Elsa grows up extremely traumatized. And Anna grows up probably subtly traumatized, shut off by her sister and the only other person she really knows other than the servants, which I don't know if she ever even talks to the servants. But anyway, shut off from her sister, who she was really close to as a child, and she has absolutely no idea why, and this goes on for years, including when their parents die. Again, terrible parents, right? They get good advice from the rock trolls, even though it was given in a bad way, and then they do the exact opposite, and then they go and die. Like, come on. The worst parents ever award. So even when their parents die, Elsa still doesn't come out and even, like, give her a hug or something. I mean, I get she can't control her ice powers, but that would get to a person. Okay, both Anna and Elsa are seriously fucked up at this point, if we're being honest with ourselves. So, good role models? No, I don't think so. Definitely don't parent the way their parents did. Just, like, do the opposite. And don't rock troll the way the rock trolls did. Bad rock trolls. So let's talk about Elsa's character arc. So for the majority of the movie, she's scared of herself, she's scared of hurting Anna, and she disconnects from everybody. And then at the end, she learns that love is the answer, that love thaws a frozen heart, and yeah, so that's a change, right? That's an arc. It is. The only fucking problem is it happens in 30 seconds. As I just spent an extensive amount of time talking about, she has legitimately been traumatized at this point, and she has spent her whole life by herself, scared. And scared that she will hurt anyone who gets close to her. And then when Anna saves her, and I forget exactly what they say, but Elsa goes, oh, love thaws a frozen heart.
I love you. The act of true love will thaw a frozen heart. Love will thaw. Love, of course. Elsa? Love.
And then it's like, bam, she got it. The 20-something years, or however old she is, even if it's just 18 years, even if it's just 16 years, you do not freaking make that change that quickly. So I cannot call that an arc. I call that an all-of-a-sudden switch that doesn't make any goddamn sense and has absolutely no consistency with the character. And then not only does she just say that one really cheesy, really cliched line, but then immediately she knows exactly how to control her ice powers immediately. So never mind all those years and years and years of shooting ice spikes and not understanding how to control it. And Let It Go, too. It is certainly implied, since her parents tell her to never ever use it, and we never ever ever see her practicing other than when she's a very young child. How do you go from zero to ice castle building just like that? It makes no goddamn sense. She didn't mess up once. She made a staircase, she made a dress, and yes, her ice powers are really inconsistent and never clearly defined, but there are a ton of other videos that will talk to you about that. And if you're still listening, you probably already think so anyway. So, how the fuck did she make a dress? I mean, ice does not work that way. I guess she makes snow too, and she says the cold never bothered me anyway, so does that mean that like she just has a really, really low body temperature and her dress is actually made of snow, she just can't feel it, or she actually is just not affected by the cold, which I guess she must be because she's living in a frozen wasteland and in an ice tower and she doesn't appear to be cold at all, so yeah, the dress is probably made of snow, but still. How did she even know she could make a dress? Never done anything like that before. How did she know she could make a building? How did she do it flawlessly the first time? Like, just these weird sudden changes, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. And they are telling a story. They need consistency with important things like that because that has to do with the character. She suppressed it. It would be more interesting if she struggled with it. If she's like, okay, well now I want to use it. I actually want to use it. What's going to happen next? So then she tries to make something beautiful, and it actually is ugly. Because the other thing too, did you know that scientifically, ice crystals freeze differently? You know, if there's anger and hatred and negative emotions, they will actually freeze in an ugly pattern. And if there's more happiness and good emotions, you can look this up. You do not have to take my word for it, because if I hadn't read it, I would think it was bullshit. So wouldn't it make sense then, psychologically, that her snow would be at least like really weird shapes, and she'd have to learn as she accepted herself that learn how to use the powers and how to make more beautiful stuff. And it just feels like a goddamn wasted opportunity. So what about the song Let It Go? I mean, of course, everyone and their mother and their great uncle and their nephew love that song. Yes, it's very overplayed at this point, but the problem I have with this song is I feel like it's actually at the wrong point in the story. What if it was at the end of the story? I know maybe cinematically it wouldn't work as well then, but the thing is, why does everyone love that song? I think they love it because they think it's an empowering song. It's a feminist song, just like the praise for the movie Frozen itself. Everyone wants to sing it, and everyone wants to let it go, and everyone wants to be who they are, and the cold never bothered them anyway. And actually, I've always minded the cold quite a bit. I really prefer the heat. But that's a different story. So the point is that when you look at what the song is saying and then what's actually happening in the movie at the time, it's really the opposite of an empowering song in a lot of ways. So not only did they go for the beautiful visuals and the flawless ice powers for the drama of the song and the moment, even though it would have been not only much more consistent but much more interesting to have her struggle with her ice powers or produce ugly things and have to work at it. But the song, see, she's saying let it go, which not only happens out of fucking nowhere, which is how Elsa's character works. She's like, okay, well, I just spent my entire life locked up, suppressing myself, and then now I'm gonna let it go. Like, I understand things do build up, and then you do have to let it go, but usually you're, like, ripping your hair out at that point. Like, saying, God, I gotta just let it go, I can't fucking deal with this anymore. But instead, it's all, oh, la-di-da-di-da. But not only that, it's like, what is she actually doing? She loves her sister. She does want to be close to her sister. The truth of Elsa is she does want connection that she's never had, and love and connection. Did I already say connection? Well, she wants it a lot. But what is she doing in the song? She is isolating herself on the top of a frozen mountain and essentially planning never ever to return. Even when Anna comes to get her and is like, hey, can you come back? She's like, no. Sorry. So she's saying, let it go and be myself and do what I want and it's cool, when she's actually isolating herself. And I know that there's a ton of things you could say in contrast to that. No, she really meant this with the song. It really means this. Like, that was just where she was at. But the point is that she sings this quote-unquote empowering song, and she's actually not really empowering herself to do what she actually wants and what she actually needs. I do think she's empowering herself to use her ice powers, to go somewhere where she feels like she can actually be herself. And that's fantastic. But, so she's really like mad, angry, scary ice, and then she runs away, and then she sings Let It Go and builds this beautiful tower. And then as soon as Anna shows up, it's clear that like she hasn't actually changed at all. She doesn't want to come back. She doesn't want to connect with her sister. She's still very scared. So what was the point of the song that seems like this turning point, this pinnacle, when nothing actually changed? And that's why, although maybe dramatically it wouldn't work as well at the end, you know, or wouldn't feel as exciting at the end, and it's great to have it sort of at that place where it is in the movie, it would make so much more sense at the end. Instead of, oh, love thaws a frozen heart, she would be like, oh shit, like, I didn't realize that I was cutting myself off from everybody, and that's probably why my ice powers were uncontrollable, because I didn't embrace them, I didn't embrace myself, and I didn't allow myself to connect. Let it go, let it go. That would make fucking sense, and it would take longer than one line. So, anyway. Anna's arc is virtually non-existent, like kinda sorta maybe, but it's hard to connect with her character anyway because she's not very interesting. There's nothing very real to connect with. And then Elsa is such a traumatized character, but that's never actually really addressed because it gets fixed so quick. The first time, the Let It Go, nothing has changed. And then the second time, only love thaws a frozen heart. She suddenly has complete control of her ice powers and complete understanding. And I think that's actually kind of an unhealthy message. Like someone who, I'm not saying that Disney should teach us how to deal with trauma, but I don't think it should teach us that after years and years of not connecting with someone, or after being one way for a really long time, you can just suddenly change that. Like, that's what the movie is for, is to actually show that progression. And unfortunately, she doesn't really go through a progression. The only time she meets Anna in the movie, before Anna saves her from Hans trying to murder her, she's like, no, sorry, I can't, and then, you know, shoots an ice beam into her heart. Not very nice. So they don't actually, they have a conversation / song in Elsa's ice tower, but Anna doesn't change her mind at all. So when did it happen? How did it happen? That's the interesting part. That's the journey. God, I'm just so pissed off. It's like, yes, I think it could have been really good, but there were two characters. Neither of them were really developed. Neither of their character arcs either really worked. really were strong at all, really were there at all, or made any sense, or actually happened in a way that would make sense.